Greetings, welcome to the Metal Book Tavern. Now it's time for another book haul. I usually wait until I get around 9 or 12 books to film. Once I get 9 books, I usually wait until I get some more. I postpone filming the book haul videos, but this time I decided not to wait and I decided to film right away. Let's get started. So the very first book that I want to show you is Mona Lisa Overdrive by William Gibson. This is the third book in the Sprawl series. Okay, here it says the Neuromancer trilogy, but when I went to the internet it said the Sprawl trilogy and I keep calling it that. Although I do sometimes call it the Neuromancer trilogy. I have all 3 books. So here's the Neuromancer. The first one, I only read the first 50 pages and I haven't continued, and I can't say much about this book yet, although I did like what I read. Next comes Count Zero, and finally Mona Lisa Overdrive. What do I know about the series? Not that much. I do know that this is an 80s sci-fi, a cyberpunk series that inspired The Matrix. I don't usually read books like that, but I decided to give the Sprawl series a chance. I think that's because I like these editions, they are so pretty. But that's not the only reason for me to buy the books. I am really interested and I'd love to read them soon, although there are books that I would love to read sooner. Oh, and by the way, Mona Lisa Overdrive is the very first book in this video that I bought. I make videos in 2 languages, in English and Russian, and I don't remember which video it was, but I remember buying Mona Lisa Overdrive before I released one book haul, and I decided not to add the Mona Lisa Overdrive to the video because I had already released a video in another language and I didn't want the book to appear in one video but not the other. I try to show the same books in all of my videos. Okay, the next book is Chroma Juice by Yuval Noah Harari, A Brief History of Tomorrow. I did give Harari a second chance this year. I read Sapiens and I really liked it. Although I wasn't sure whether I should read Chroma Juice, at least should I read it right away, and I hesitated buying the book at first, but then they announced that they had discounts. I looked at the website of the bookshop that I got this book. It's called English Book Education here in Tbilisi, and they had huge discounts for this book, and I immediately rushed to the store and I got myself this book. So the first book, Sapiens, was what it said it was. It was a brief history of humankind. Here, on the other hand, Harari suggests his vision of tomorrow. I am kind of skeptical for 2 reasons. Well, because when I read 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, I felt like Harari has watched too much Black Mirror, and another concern of mine that the future is uncertain, and who knows, maybe this book is going to be irrelevant in the future. Well, at least some aspects of the book. Maybe there are a lot of things in this book that are going to stay relevant throughout all ages. But his main concern in this book is that there's going to be an oversaturation of things like food and goods and etc. than the other way around. In the past it was the other way around, but now it seems like we have everything, according to him. We're going to see that. My next 2 books are both sci-fi and I already read one. So this book is Do Androids Dream of the Electric Ship by Philip Dick. If the cover is familiar to you, this is the book that is the basis of the film The Blade Runner. Here are the actors. Fun fact: in the store there were 2 editions of this book available. One was this edition and the other was Masterworks edition. By the time I got to the store to buy this book, the Masterworks edition has already sold out, so I was left with this. What do we have here? World War Terminus had left the Earth devastated. Through its ruins, bounty hunter Rick Deckard. This is quite neat. The Philip Dick literally named Rick Deckard after the philosopher René Descartes. In search of the renegades replicants. In this book, these replicants are called androids, short Andy, who were his prey. When he wasn't retiring them, I love Philip Dick's choice of words. When he wasn't retiring them with his laser weapon, he dreamed of owning a live animal, the ultimate status symbol in a world, all but bereft of animal life. So in this world, nearly all animals have gone extinct. Remaining animals, they became very protected, they were a symbol of prestige. And instead of live animals came the electric animals, and the main character owns electric sheep. Then Rick got his chance, the assignment to kill 6 Nexus 6 targets for a huge reward. But in Deckard's world, things were never that simple, and his assignment quickly turned into a nightmare kaleidoscope of subterfuge and deceit, and the threat of death for the hunter rather than the hunted. You know, now after I have read the book, it's very short, it's quite easy to read, I realized that this is one of the rare cases when the film was better. I do not regret reading this book. I'm going to show it in my future video. Definitely the film was better, but it was still good that I read it. Now finally comes my next sci-fi book. This is the first Masterworks book that I bought. I heard a lot about this author. I heard about the most famous book of hers, but I decided to get this one instead. And this is the Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. Special thanks to the Book Leo channel. So in a nutshell, there are 2 planets in this world. One is a planet of hierarchy and order, and the other planet is a planet of anarchy. One day the guy from planet of hierarchy goes to the planet of anarchy, and he is caught in an intrigue. He is being used as a pawn, like the annotation says, in a deadly game. The annotation caught my eye, although I do remember that the Book Leo wasn't quite satisfied with this book, but I decided to give it a chance all the same. I can be influenced by someone else to buy and read a book, but if they happen to be disappointed with the book and I'm like, yes, I really want to read it all the same, I'm definitely going to read it all the same, even if the guy or girl who influenced me to buy the book was disappointed with it. Depends on the drive, of course. The next book I'm going to show you, I can say, was influenced by Georgian book talk. Well, yeah, I watch a lot of TikTok, and I also make TikToks. I heard a lot about this book, and I had the chance to buy the Russian version in the past, but I didn't. This year they translated this book to Georgian, and the edition of this book happened to be very beautiful. I heard a lot about this book, and I heard the main theme song that was used in the film adaptation of this book. I was really influenced to buy House Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. Oh, just look at the cover, it's so beautiful, and it's also very nice to touch. Yes, this is translated into Georgian, and I already read 72 pages. I have a few pages left till chapter 6. What do we have here? There's this kingdom of Ingary where magic and witches and so on are normal thing. They're common. So the main character of this book is a girl named Sophie, the eldest of 3 sisters. One day she gets cursed by a witch, and in order to lift the curse, Sophie goes to a moving castle to see the wizard who is named Howl, and Howl has an assistant named Michael. This is the start of Sophies Adventures. I know that there is an anime film based on this book, and I know that it's kind of different from the book. I have to confess that it is kind of hard for me to read in Georgian, but I still try. I live here and I'd rather improve my language skills to some extent. I'm definitely going to keep this book all the same because the edition is too good, but if I chance to get my hands on English version or the Russian version, I'm getting them. I like the story so far. Let's see what happens next. Recently I released a video named Books I Want to Read. The video is divided into 2 halves. In the first half there were books that I didn't own, and the other were the books that I did own. However, one thing that I didn't mention is that between filming and releasing the video, I bought one book. that I said I didn't own. I didn't expect this book to arrive here. I really wanted to get my hands on it, and once I saw it in the store, I got it. Special thanks to the book Leo for inspiring me to get this wonderful book. And this book is Humankind, a hopeful history by Rutger Bregman. Since both Rutger and Leo are Dutch, she pronounces his name differently. I pronounce it Rutger Bregman. Oh, in Russian I'd say Rutger Bregman. I stopped at page 226. How Power Corrupts. This is chapter 11. This is where I stopped. So this is kind of like Sapiens, but from a more positive perspective. Rutger Bregman argues that the humankind in general is pretty decent. Oh sure, the book isn't naive. Bregman recognizes the fact that there was a lot of cruelty committed by humankind, but nonetheless, he still argues that humankind is more or less decent instead of the other way around. This book did kind of challenge my worldview. Yes, he brings up two philosophers, Hobbes and his Leviathan, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. One was like the humanity is negative, and the other was like humanity is positive, and Bregman brings examples on why they are positive or negative. And in general, this is a very good book. Yuval Noah Harari is actually mentioned in this book, and the two even met each other. I found their interview on YouTube, only 200 something pages in, and I already like this book more than Sapiens. So in my previous video, it just happened that there wasn't a single book in Russian. In this video, this is fixed, and I got myself the entire Kingkiller Chronicle series by Patrick Rothfuss. I already reread The Name of the Wind, and I was still fascinated by this book. I was fascinated in 2020 when I began reading this book, and I'm fascinated in 2023 when I reread this book. The Russian version opened my eyes to things that for some reason I did not remember. For example, I did not remember the substance abuse trees. Yes, that was a thing. This book features trees that were full of substances. If you read the book, you know what I mean. And when I first showed this book in my videos, I said I would read the difference in annotation between the Russian version and the English version. Allow me to read the English version to you. I have stolen princesses back from sleeping barrow kings. I burned down the town of Treban. I have spent the night with Felurian and left with both my sanity and my life. I was expelled from the university at a younger age than most people are allowed in. I tread paths by moonlight that others fear to speak of during day. I have talked to gods, loved women, and written songs that make the minstrels weep. My name is Koth. You may have heard of me. So the English version makes Koth sound like he's all that awesome and stuff. But on the other hand, such annotation made some plot twists work for me. So now you can hear the tone this annotation sets for the book. And now let's read the annotation of this one, the Russian version. In order to avoid poor translation, I translated this via Google Translate. Any past is forgotten, turning into fairy tales that scare small children. But the hour will strike, and the ancient legends will come to life and burst into reality, sowing horror and death. So the young Koth, an actor of wandering troupe, is faced with the terrible demons, the Chandrians, who destroy his entire family. Vowing revenge, the boy embarks on a long and difficult journey, full of adventure and danger. After all, in order to fight the legendary monsters, he himself will have to become the legend. To be honest, for me personally, the Russian annotation is much more inspiring. It sets a much different tone, a better tone than the English one. But I love the series nonetheless. And here is The Wise Man's Fear, split into two parts. I haven't read this book. When I first read the English version, I did not appreciate it much as the first one at least, but now I'm ready to give the book the second chance. In two parts. And finally, the last book in this video that I bought literally today. Today is August 1st, 2023. Yesterday I went to the bookstore, I saw it, and I kept thinking about this book, and I was like, how I need it and I bought it. So this book is King Arthur and His Knights of the Round Table by Roger Lancelin Green. Lancelin. Yeah, sounds like Lancelot. This is the second book that I have, which deals with Arthurian legends. The first one is, of course, The Fall of Arthur by J.R.R. Tolkien. Arthurian legends are quite literally everywhere. This is the Puffin Classics, and this is aimed more at a younger audience. This isn't the Once and Future King by T.H. White, but I wanted to read this all the same. A legend is born when young Arthur meets Merlin and draws the mighty sword from its stone. This spellbinding retelling brings to life King Arthur and the adventures of his knights, from the quest for the Holy Grail to the final tragedy of the last battle. Sounds quite cool to me. Apart from this book and also Once and Future King, there's also Thomas Mallory's interpretation called The Morte d'Arthur, Death of Arthur, and there's also Marianne Zimmer Bradley, The Mists of Avalon. I'd love to read The Mists of Avalon. I'd love to have it in my collection. But I also really enjoy having this book in my collection all the same. Also, it's the same size as my edition of Sapiens. Here you can see. These Puffin Classics are quite cool. I like them a lot. Anyway, that's all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. What are the books that you have bought recently? Let me know down in the comments. See you next time. Goodbye.